Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, April 9th, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here had May corn down 1 1/4 at 634 1/4. May soybeans down 4 1/2, 11.77, and May Chicago wheat was down 8 3/4 at 5.57. This morning, the USDA announced an export sales announcement of 124,000 metric tons of soybeans to unknown destinations for 23-24. Yesterday afternoon, crop progress was released. 3% of the corn crop is planted. That's versus 2% over the 5-year average and 2% for last week. So slight increase there in the corn number. No bean numbers were released. They're looking at next week to release the first bean progress number. And on the conditions side, winter wheat rated 56% good to excellent, and that was unchanged from the prior week. Good morning, fellas. Not a whole lot in the way of fresh market making news. We did have corn open interest down over 20,000 last night, which was interesting. I know export inspections were solid for corn yesterday. Ben, maybe a couple of thoughts there to start us off, kick it around the room. And I know Dustin had just a little bit on Brazilian weather. So we'll take it from there, Ben.
Yeah, I think we've seen consistently good weeks of inspections for corn. You look at coming in at the high end of the range, sometimes slightly over. People talk about the year-over-year increase, which would be expected because last year we were kind of in a rationing mode for corn. But inspections continue to hum along. It tells us that we're priced right, even though we've missed out on some big purchases from China. We found other destinations in the world where corn is going to, particularly Mexico, and a smattering of other countries. So that's positive. The saying that low price can fix low price. I think the economics are working there for corn, and it's kind of balanced with what's going on in South America, probably keeping somewhat of a lid on it for now, with ample rains and forecasts. So domestically, we're doing what we can do. Price is doing what it should be doing in order to garner some of the exports that we need to see. And that materialized when we reduced stocks a little bit, between that and feed, to have a slight drawdown in overall stock. So that's one of the most positive things that I see in the market right now for old crop. It certainly just moves the barometer a little bit higher for uncertainty on new crop, especially with lower acres. So yeah, that's the bright spot. Soybeans really have missed their window for exports. And I think that continues to be sort of a wet rag on that market. So.
Yeah, Dustin, Ben referenced Brazilian weather, and I know we were looking at it here this morning, but by all accounts, they're getting well more than they need or would want for this time of year. Putting that as another kind of dark spot on us having a chance to rally here.
Yeah, so I think there's maybe a little bit of I'd say hope that the dryness that we had the last 30, 60 days in Brazil was going to have an impact on that second season crop. It is their drier season, but over the next couple of weeks, 3 inches of rain through Mato Grosso, you're 170% of normal rainfall for Brazilian second season corn. And just right in the areas that really need it. So I think that's probably what the market's, been focusing on here is we've come off those post-report highs back on March 28th. When we hit the high, and let's just say the May contract for corn is 448. So we're about 14 cents off of that number. I think there's just a little bit more confidence that maybe there is going to be a decent-sized crop out of Brazil. Still have to see what the acres come out to be and what that final tally is, but this is the right timing for that rain. So yeah, that's I think what put a little wet blanket on it. We only finished above that 50-day moving average one time, and we've been flirting with it a couple of times here, but report day, March 28th, is the one time we settled above that 50-day moving average in the May corn contract. Today, that's around 436 3/4. So we're really close to it. We're still 14 cents off that recent high. But we haven't seen funds capitulate and get out of shorts yet, despite that favorable report news. So I just look at this map here and I look at the rain. I think there's not a catalyst right now for them to do that. Something's got to give. And that's maybe where we look towards the energy markets and gold making all new all-time highs. There's certainly some storylines there that are, outside market storylines that could maybe jolt them out. But right now they've got momentum and spreads on their side to stay with the position.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Like I said, not a whole lot of fresh news. We'll get USDA and CONAB will be out Thursday. So we'll take a look. Obviously, South America will still see, CONAB and USDA have been pretty far apart in terms of where they've been so far. We'll see if that kind of comes in a little bit later this week. Rylan, they continue to not do any favors in the livestock sector. CDC overnight requesting a state and public health officials be prepared for the outbreak of avian flu. So obviously just throwing more and more news headlines at the issue here. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it still kind of seems like it's going to be in the forefront, just in the back of everybody's mind right now. There's still going to be a lot of fundamental aspects of this market that still create, I think, or at least from directional movement. We're in a pretty big seasonal right now, and the market's typically vulnerable, at least in the cattle side of things, between now and May 31st. We did see a big uptick in beef. Cash trade really hasn't taken place yet this week. So overall, I think that sentiment's going to kind of ground everything for right now. But yeah, I mean, with heavily invested funds here, that's a big risk right now, is that this does turn into something that's that the market just really wasn't anticipating. We've already seen some of the extreme reaction so far, so it's just kind of a wait and see how we digest this information, how the market sees it. And right now, it's just every kind of news headline, I would say, is generally on the more negative side of the market. So we'll see. I mean, there's going to be opportunities here on both sides, obviously, but that's definitely one of the bigger headwinds to deal with. Outside of just the day-to-day kind of downtrend that we're seeing right now and weakening cattle prices at this point. So I agree. I mean, it's hard to say how bad this could get, but on the other hand, it may not have a direct implication for beef production down the road. We haven't seen that yet. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, and I say that, the good news, on the human side is that worker was never hospitalized and by all accounts is recovering well. So that's, it would be totally different narrative had it been the other way, probably,
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah, so far, I think the only symptoms that I've seen that have been related to these cases have been like redness of the eyes. Nothing really that severe at this point. So I don't think you can draw a comparison between this and any other diseases that we've seen move through our populace in recent history. So that's why I say I think it's just more of a wait and see mentality. Maybe it's still kind of a risk off situation. But do we have to go limit down every time a headline comes out? I mean, it seems a little excessive, but we'll see how the market treats it. It could be a problem, but I don't think this is I think because it's bird flu, it's probably not souring people's beef demand right now, especially as temperatures are warming up. They're supposed to be pretty good. I mean, we got grilling season around the corner. We got BLT season around the corner. Oh. So yeah, I mean, like
BLT
we got demand coming, people.
Coming from a bull, BLT season's big. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, bellies were up $10 yesterday, so I mean, like you can kind of see that just in general. I mean, like not all the meat markets are getting hit here. I mean, June hogs just keep on kind of rallying here. We got 6 days straight up, new contract highs too. So, I mean, right now the pork market's impervious to any of this, and honestly, there really hasn't been any real disease scares in the hog herd this year to a large degree that the market's really picked up on. So, I mean, that's a great thing to see. And that right now it just seems like there's this big push right now, just that pork demand's going to be leading the charge right now this summer, just from a retail standpoint. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Ryan, does it make sense for someone to feed cattle heavier than they normally would if prices are cheap, just corn prices are cheap? Will they try to pack on extra pounds?
I think we're seeing that already. I mean, like, you can see the weight gains right now on dressed. I mean, we're trading contra seasonally, so instead of going down this time of year, they're going up, because typically we see corn prices start to rally at this time of year. It's just on a seasonal basis. We're not seeing that right now. So you've got really good conditions here. In the South and even in the Midwest, we're kind of past all the, at least right now, kind of threatening weather that we typically would have seen to really impact those weights. And right now they're staying at record highs for this time of year. So I think the incentive is there, especially with historically high prices and $4 corn.
Oh, very good. Anything else, guys, on your mind? Throw it around here.
I just wanted to touch on something Dustin put in the letter yesterday, and we, kind of talked about this, but maybe it's obvious, but there's nothing easy here, right? We're at these price levels where it's very tough when you talk about margins and what should you do and downside. If you look at corn, for example, at 470, it's below a lot of people's cost of production. We haven't planted it, really at all yet. We were at cheaper prices. We've had a decent rally. And now that we've been down, you call it kind of like over time, you get used to a price. So the first time we got below $5, it was kind of like an insult, right? And then 480 and 470, 460, so on. Now we're back up to this kind of 470 range from where we were, a couple of months ago. And, the fact is we're still below cost of production for a lot of people. So there's not a no-brainer strategy here for marketing. And, we touched it in the letter, about, maybe looking at some short-term options, things of that to kind of bridge some certain gaps until you know more about your crop. Because it's easy to say, well, if I grow a record yield, 470 doesn't look that bad. And if we're going to go to sub $4 in the fall, I better get some sales on. And that's fine. The problem is if you have any kind of a scare, it's usually going to be, paired with a yield uncertainty. And you're going to be looking at kind of some panic. So you kind of got to think about the emotional response you'll have to a situation like that and try to find a strategy that you can live with. So on paper, a lot of these strategies look good. If I do this strategy by harvest, it'll be a really good outcome. And that may be true, but you also have to think about how I'm going to react if I think my yields are down 20 or 30, 40% when markets are rallying, or if they rally. All of a sudden you're in a super oversold condition, well below cost of production. So I just think this is a really tough time of year, and this is a tough situation where margins are compressed. There's a lot of stress. We're going to get into a period where planters are rolling pretty good. We're probably going to have a lot of headwinds. The market doesn't seem like it wants to get to a level that everybody wants to sell, and rightfully so. So I would just caution that. I think it's really important to look at, what are the outcomes of the strategies and what's the timing of those outcomes. So if you're looking at something short dated, that's going to bridge you to, hey, I think I'll be planted by him. I think I'll be more certain about, what I'm looking at. And then doing timings on whether it's options or whatever kind of a strategy, whether it's even structured products at the elevator, really try to time when those, double up liabilities or short calls or long puts, whatever you work with on your strategist, make sure that the timing of when those outcomes are known lines up with, how you want to, kind of attack that marketing plan. So that would be my biggest advice, not necessarily price movement, but just really factoring, trying to really think about the timing of when you need these things.
I think that's a great point. And as always, anybody wants to call, visit, knock around some ideas, please don't hesitate to reach out to us or shoot us an email, info@agyield.com. The guys are always willing and able to talk about your individual operations and what could work best for you. So very good points. Just came into the open here. We got May corn down 2 at 433.5. May soybeans down 5 3/4, now 11.75 3/4. May Chicago wheat's down 11.5, 5.54 is the last there. Every day that the markets are open, we're streaming live on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate all the feedback here today, guys. It was a good conversation, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. Hope everybody has a great day.